Hello, welcome to Higher and Beyond. This is the place for us to learn about personal development, personal growth, and self improvement. As you see, we have my guest speaker here, Bernard Cates. Hi, Bernard. Thank you for showing up.
Hi, Uni. It's a great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. So, yeah, but before we go deep into our conversation today, I'm going to introduce you for our audience who's watching this video. So, for all of you guys who doesn't know who Bernard Katz is, Bernard is an author, a professional mindset coach, mentor, and leadership coach who specialize in helping the clients to transform the mindset and guiding them to achieve their very highest potential in life and career. Wow. With more than 40 years experience as a professional leader, Bernard helps so many companies in the leadership area. And here you go. As an author, Bernard has launched two books on Amazon platform, which the first book is called Foundation of Leadership. I'll put the link in the description for you. And the second book is launched not long ago, which it called Living from the Heart, and it's out from on Amazon too, right, Bernard? Not long ago. Wow!
Yeah,
Congratulations, Bernard.
thank you, Uni. That's it's a great pleasure to have them out there. It took me a while to put them all together, but both of them are based on material that I've had for a number of years. That they're both based on my own experience. So, Foundations of Leadership is based on the work that I've done over the years, both as a leader myself and as a coach and mentor for people who've been working towards their own personal and professional development as leaders. Whereas the other one, Living from the Heart, is based more on the life coaching process that I follow with people, both working with clients myself and also as a coach and mentor to people who are learning to become life coaches. So they're both material that I use myself over the years, and I put them together as a way of organizing that material for myself so that I could find it. And it struck me that it was useful to me, and so it might well be useful to other people who might be interested in those things. So, hence the books. So they're out there. They're both on Amazon
Yeah.
and available to anybody who'd like to take a look.
Well, yeah, this is what I'm going to do is put the link into the description. So, for all of you guys who want to read that book, which is this book is so interesting, especially, the Living from the Heart. I checked it already. So, yeah, thank you very much for the insight from the book. So, I'm curious about the first one. I haven't got that yet. So, yeah, give it. Right, Bernard. Am I right that you have the more than 40 years working as a leader in a company? How long you been having this kind of experience, especially in the leadership area?
Well, a long time, as you say, and
Mm,
I began in private industry quite some time ago when I found myself promoted into a leadership position because I was good at the technical aspects of the work that I was doing. I had no knowledge of leadership at all, and
mm,
no experience in certainly in a workplace. I had previously when I was in the Scouts, when I was 14 years old.
oh
I,
wow,
I
that's
was a,
that's very young.
I was a patrol leader in the
Oh
Scouts,
wow,
but that was it until in my later in my late 20s, I found myself in that position of having people uh, reporting to me at work, and that
right,
was quite a new thing for me to make that adjustment from being just responsible for myself and my own work to suddenly being responsible for a team. And I made all kinds of mistakes but I learned from them, and so um, that's one of the reasons why I put that book together. The book is based on my own experience, but it's the book that I wish I'd had when I found myself in that position, having to
Mm,
lead people for the first time.
yeah. Wow. You've had this experience when you were very young. This is something you never know before, and that was the first time. And I'm pretty sure that this book is going to inspire people who doesn't know what is leadership means, for all of the people, especially I think leadership also, I can tell that being and learn about leadership is very important in life, personal professionally too, right?
Yes, certainly, it's important in not just in the workplace, but
Hmm.
also in your personal life. It's quite often necessary for in all kinds of different situations for somebody to take the lead. And if that doesn't happen,
Right.
everybody stands around. They're looking at each other, waiting for something to happen, and waiting for somebody to say, "Well, let's do this. Let's go that way. Let's fix this problem in this way." So somebody has to do it, and often it will be somebody will step up. They have no
Mm,
particular authority to do that. It's just that it needs to be done. Someone will see the need and step in, and that's quite common in life to see that happen. So
right.
it's interesting. The other thing I would say too is that often we don't realise ourselves uh, when we're being called on to show some leadership. And everybody has some opportunity to do that, particularly people. Parents, for example, parents are leading their children. It's a leadership role. Teachers, they're leading the kids they're teaching at school. Same thing with college lecturers, university lecturers, people like that. They're leading. So the number of opportunities we have to lead people and to influence them and to support them and encourage them, that's it's something that we all need to pay attention to.
Right. Yeah. Wow. With everything that in life we must, I can tell, need a leader, and as a person we are all leader, but how and how to learn about leadership is something that we need to do now. What is leader means for you on your case, looking for this experience that you have, and why is it that valuable, it's actually valuable skills for all of us, for each person in life to have and use these skills.
Yeah, it is definitely, and it helps us personally to get to know ourselves better, and then from there to encourage other people, to inspire them, to motivate them to achieve better things in their life too.
Mm,
So, to lead a group of people to achieve a common goal, it's something that is really important in all aspects of life. But I found that becoming a leader, being in a leadership role, helped me to get to know myself better. And that helped me in all sorts of areas of my life, not just in my work and not just in my role as a leader.
mm, wow. So leadership, it's actually help to get to know ourselves. So first of all is that this is the foundation. I must say that sometimes we don't know ourselves, but if you are right, being a leader, it's actually also a realization to get to know ourselves.
Yeah, that's the first step. If you want
Right.
to develop your skills as a leader, you've got to start with yourself. So
Mm,
understand, who you are, who you really are. What is your purpose in life? And does that purpose include leading other people? Do you
right.
want to be a leader? Because if you don't want to be a leader, you're never going to be a good one. So, think about that. You need to understand yourself first. If you understand yourself, and your own what makes you tick, your own what motivates you, then you can begin to understand other people and what might motivate them and what they need, what their strengths and weaknesses might be, their hopes, their fears, their dreams, all of those things. You can start to understand those things. And when you understand those things, then you can lead those people. You know how to communicate with them. You know how to motivate them, how to communicate a vision to them that they can accept and buy into and want to achieve as much as you do. So knowing yourself is the first step.
Hmm. Right. So I think we talked about it also in the previous discussion that we had. Um, Being a leader is knowing yourself, knowing ourselves first, so then you can lead others.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's sometimes we can tell that if you don't know yourself, how are you going to lead others?
yeah. It's almost impossible if you don't understand yourself. Then it's very hard for you to understand anyone else, and if you don't understand them, you can't lead them.
Right.
You can give them instructions, you can
Mm,
direct them, but that is management. That is not leadership, and there's a big
I
difference
see.
between them.
Yeah. So this is again, we talk about it. Excuse me. Uh, in the previous discussion, the difference between managing and leading.
Yeah, there's a very
Yeah.
important difference between them. They work together. They're two sides of the same coin, but management is about things. It's about rules and procedures, budgets and timelines and profit and loss and all of those sorts of things. Leadership is about people. It's relational. It's about the people. It's about their strengths and weaknesses and hopes and fears and dreams and everything that makes us human. So if you're going to be a good leader, you have to understand those things. You have to be a people person, first and foremost. But management and leadership work together. So if you find yourself in a leadership role at work, you are probably in a management role as well. And so you have to be able to take care of both of those things. So there's the technical aspects, the transactional aspects of being a manager, and then there's the relational aspect of leading your people. Leading your people is incredibly important. If you neglect that, then you will fail as a manager as well.
Oh, right. Wow. So this is cannot be separate. What I understood, management and leadership it cannot be separate because it come together. Wow, this is so interesting.
Yeah,
And
if you
hmm,
are in a formal leadership position at work, if the sign on your office door says manager, then you have people reporting to you, and you need to learn to lead those people. So you are a leader, and you're a manager. You've got the business to run as well. And so you need to understand both of those aspects of your role. Otherwise, you will fail and then the business will
hmm,
suffer.
right. Wow, this is a very common also. That is why in the business and in the company we have to have leadership. And Bernard, do you think every person can be a leader? Is it possible
Yes,
for all each person can be a leader?
yes, definitely. Just because this sign on your office door says manager, that makes you a leader formally within the organization. But if you think about when there's work going on within your team, if you're smart, you have employed people who are smarter than you are, particularly in their own areas of expertise. And if you have some work going on that requires that expertise in a particular area of the work, you would do well to follow that person's lead, even though they may be your subordinate, you may be their boss. You let them take the lead in that piece of work. That is quite important. What that means is that they then are free to exercise their creativity and to use their expertise to get the work done to the best of their ability. and to use the team, including you, um, to give the best that input that they can to getting that work done. So, what that means is that yes, you are the boss, but it doesn't mean that you always have to be in the lead. If you're using your people to get the best out of them, sometimes you're going to defer to them and let them take the lead. That requires a degree of humility, which is another very important value, a very important trait of a good leader.
Mm, wow. Okay, as you've been working and as a coach, you've been working with so many clients personally and professionally, and you've been working also with the company. And again, as a mentor, how do you approach the task of guiding individuals in identifying and leveraging their technique, their unique strengths and talents for leadership roles?
Well, I start in the same place with somebody who's come to me for leadership coaching or mentoring as I start with someone who's come to me for life coaching. I start in the same place with life's hardest question, number one, who are you? And I don't mean
Mm,
what's your name or where do you live or what do you do for a living or any of those things. I mean, who are you in your heart? What are your values? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your hopes, your fears, your dreams? Tell me about that. Tell me about who you really are. Once we understand that, then we can start to work towards having a deeper understanding of other people and learning about what motivates them, what inspires them, how we communicate with them, how we support them, how we protect them at work. Because as a leader, your role is to do all of those things. Protecting your people is quite an interesting part of a leader's role. Protecting them from what, particularly? And often it's protecting them from the organization itself. We've all seen workplaces where people get dragged from one place to the
ooh,
next by
yes. Yeah.
competing priorities within the organization. So
Oh
that
my
sort of thing
gosh.
happens. And it's up to you, as
Mhm.
the leader of those people to say, that will stop. If you want my people to do things, you come to me. You ask me, and I will delegate work to my people. So that takes all of that pressure off of them. It puts the pressure on you, but that's your role. That's what you've got to accept, as a leader. So, you think about all of those things, but it starts with you. Who are you? You
Yeah.
know, once you've
Mm,
got that, life's hardest question number two, what do you want? As in, what's important to you?
mm,
Why are you there in that business doing that job? And answer that question fairly and honestly, because that's about what's motivating you. And once you understand that, you can start to use that to help motivate your people. But it also makes you think really clearly about your career and where you are and what you're doing and whether you're in the right place. Because it's quite possible that you actually are not in the right place. And if you're not in the
mm.
right place, you're not doing the job that really fits with you, then you won't feel enthusiastic, excited to go to work. And if you're not enthusiastic and you're not excited about the work you're doing, you won't fully commit to it. And if
Yeah.
you don't fully commit to it, your people will see that and they
Yeah.
won't fully commit either. So
Right.
a couple of things come out of that. One is that your team, your part of the business, will not perform at its best. And the
Mm,
second thing is that you will feel stressed and unhappy. And you'll wake up in the morning with that sinking feeling, that dismay, that, oh, I got to go to work today. Ugh.
mm. Yeah.
If you wake up in the morning with that feeling, you are in the wrong place. So,
Right.
think
Ooh.
about that. It's really important. But if you wake up in the morning feeling excited, yeah, we've got work to do. Here are the projects. This is really good. I'm looking forward to getting into that work and achieving these things. And you go to work with that feeling of excitement and looking forward to doing the work and being proud of what you're achieving. That tells you you're in the right place. And that is infectious as well, because your people will see it. Your
yeah.
people will see that, and they'll get some of it too. They'll be enthusiastic. They'll be excited. They'll want to perform at their best, and they'll be as proud as you are about the achievements that you're getting together as a team.
Hmm. It seems like Bernard, as a mentor and a professional coach, you have, I must say, this is the combination, not only leadership technique, but also the personal development that you combine to teach, to help others and people
Oh,
who,
definitely, yeah, yeah.
right, okay.
They go together. They go
Hmm.
together because, like I said to you at the start here, you have to understand yourself.
Yeah,
Once you understand yourself, then you can start to understand others and you can start to lead them. But as you do that, you learn more about them and about yourself. And so you can put that back into what you're doing. So it's a continual process of learning. You're learning, you're observing, you're learning more. You make mistakes and you learn from those mistakes. So you take another step forward. Your personal and professional development takes another step. So, from that point of view, there is no such thing as a mistake. It's only a learning opportunity. But
yeah,
you got to make sure that when something goes wrong, you do learn the lessons from it, so that you don't make that mistake again, and that
yeah.
you learn and grow as a result of it.
Hmm. Um, and you said earlier too that every person can be a leader, but we must learn. Well, of course, right? Everybody can be a leader, but if they don't learn how to be a leader, you're gonna be fail. And we, as a leader, we as person, if you want to be a leader, we have to learn about leadership. So I'm wondering what kind of techniques, and can you share some effective techniques or exercise that you usually use to help your mentee develop their self-awareness and understand their leadership style, beside of knowing who you are? What technique?
Yeah, sure. Usually what I do, I don't have an exercise as such, but what I do is I ask them to reflect on how they operate as a leader, to think about how they lead their people at work. Or if they are already in a leadership role, they can think about that. You know, how do I relate to my people and how is that working for me? So that will give them some insights into what their current leadership style is and how that works. Often they'll discover that what they're doing right now is not working very well. And there'll be a couple of reasons for that. One, the main one, will be confidence, that they don't really have that understanding to make them confident in their role. And the other is that no one has ever given them any guidance about how to
Mm,
lead. And
yeah.
so they're going on their own best guess about
Wow.
what's needed and how it's going to
Yeah.
work. So it helps then to give them a bit of understanding about what's required. So I have a couple of examples of things that can help them to think about that. Usually, I will give them an exercise to do, which will be a scenario from my own career. And I came through the emergency services. So I often use a scenario from that, an emergency situation that I was in a management, a leadership role involved in that. And I use that deliberately because most of the people I'm talking to have no experience at all in
Mm,
emergency services. So I put them into that scenario because I don't want them to think about the problem itself. I want them to think about it in terms of the leadership challenges of leading people through managing a situation like that. So I don't want them to manage the situation. I want them to think about leading those people and what are the challenges that they're going to face and how can you overcome those challenges and how can you lead that team through that crisis, through that emergency situation. And that really focuses people on how to be an effective leader in a crisis, under time pressure when life or death decisions have to be made.
Yeah.
So that's quite helpful to focus people's thinking on the leadership aspects of a situation, not on the situation itself. Because if I give people a situation that they're familiar with, for example, if I gave them a business situation, they would think about the technical aspects of it. They'd be thinking about what they have to do in terms of dealing with that situation in their workplace. So I don't want them to think about that. I want them to
Yeah.
think about the people and about the leadership aspects of it.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I do, and it's challenging, and it puts people under a bit of pressure, but it, at the end of the day, does give them some good insights
Yeah. Yeah.
into people and how they work under pressure, particularly.
I can imagine that, Bernard. It is challenging, and it's coming back to the earlier answer that you just mentioned about reflect on themselves. This is the first technique that you gave to your clients, which is I can really imagine this because there this in this era, and I can tell that a lot of distraction, and then as a high position in the company, they forgot how to actually reflect on themselves. So this is why I can say that even though a person who have a very high position in the company, they also need a guidance as such as a coach with a mentor or stuff like that to actually reflect. Because sometimes it's because they have in the high position, they really cannot take care of themselves because forget and a lot of things. It is in interesting one. And wow, it's such a distraction is very bring people to forget about how aware they are with themselves.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Thinking about if you think about a CEO at the top
Yeah.
of an organization, um, their role is twofold.
Yeah.
Firstly, it's about operating that business so that
Mm,
it makes a profit, so that it keeps the shareholders happy. That's about management, but also it's about leading the people who make up that business. See, a business is its people. If you didn't have the people, you wouldn't have a business. So the leadership within the organization starts from the top. It starts with the CEO right at the top. And the CEO's leadership style will filter down through the hierarchy within that organization right to the bottom. And that's all about organizational culture. It starts from the top. So if you have a CEO whose style is motivational, inspirational, who's setting a clear vision that everyone in the organization can say, I can see where this organization's going, and I'm really keen to make sure that that happens. See, achieving that vision will achieve success for the company, but it will achieve success for me too in my career. So everyone in the organization wants that vision just as much as that CEO does. That's about inspiration. It's about communication from the top down. It's about the CEO not being some remote figure who stays in the C suite and never appears anywhere within the organization, but being a genuine human being who's part of the organization and who cares about the people who work within that organization. So, I was talking earlier on about humility.
yeah.
That's important. That's really important for somebody at that level to actually recognize that, yes, they're the CEO, and yes, they can make decisions that have real serious implications for the whole organization. But at the same time, they're an ordinary human being, just like everyone else who works in that organization, right down to the T boy, all of them. They're people, they're human beings, and so they should be treated as people,
Yeah.
with respect. So, that's important to understand. But as I said, the leadership, the organizational culture starts from the top, and so it's really important that somebody at that senior level understands the people and how to lead them, and then can hold the other leaders beneath them within the organization, can hold them to account for leading those people in the right way and in the right sort of inspirational, transformational way. That leads to a strong organization where the people in the organization are there because they really want to be there, because they really believe in what that organization is doing, and because they really want to achieve that vision just as much as that CEO and that board of directors want. If you think about Steve Jobs at Apple, you remember when Steve Jobs came back to Apple after he was out and he came back as the CEO? He inspired that organization to achieve fantastic things.
Yeah.
Apple was in trouble. It was in trouble. It was on the point of failing when Steve Jobs came back, and
Yeah.
there was a product launch, and Steve Jobs came on stage and he showed us an iPhone. Well, no one in the world had ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
He didn't do market research to figure out what we needed. He developed that iPhone, or he had the company develop that, and then he told us, "You need this." Now that's
Yeah.
leadership. That was about creating a vision within the company, and the company got right behind him and said, "Wow, this is fantastic. We can get on
Yeah.
board with that. We can make that happen." Then he goes and tells the whole world about it, and you know what? The whole world wants one too. They buy
Mm.
into that vision. They go, yes. So if you're looking
Yes.
for an example of someone who could inspire and motivate not just his own organization, but people outside of the organization as well, well, just take a look at him. Look at Steve Jobs. Now,
Mm. Yeah.
I would ask the question though: uh, would you have liked to work for him? And he was a driven man, and he must have been very difficult to work for.
Yeah.
But because he could inspire people, because he could communicate that vision, they were prepared to work for him and to put up with the way he behaved because
Mm.
they wanted that vision. They wanted it as much as he did.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. Talking about Steve Jobs, I think he is one of my inspiration also, because the moment he gave a speech in there, it's kind of the world is blown up, like, what? And until now we see that iPhone is the biggest company in the world. Wow. And wow, also about leadership, the communication and humility is needed in the leadership part. And one thing that actually it remind me with your insight earlier about that leadership, because if you are a good leader, you can also help your staff to become a leader, and again to down to the staff. And this is something that I've got question from one of my when I was in the seminar. I was there. I got a question from the audience. They asked about how am I gonna do, because as a manager, as a top position in my company, I feel so difficult to lead my people. So my answer was, build a leader. You cannot do it your own. That's the thing. If you are a good leader, you can build another leader um, in the companies. So not you, not all of you who's taking care of that. I mean, it's a good example that you just mentioned about leadership. Um, Now, Bernard, do you have any experience, or what are some common misconception or myth about leadership that you often encounter, and how do you address them with your mentees?
Well, there's a number of common mistakes that people make when they're put into a leadership position without any guidance or training or support. And a lot of it comes down to self confidence. Um, if someone goes into a leadership role without really understanding what it's about, without having the confidence to take the role on in the right way, then often they'll do things like micromanaging their people. Well, micromanagement means, delegating a task to somebody and then standing over them and giving them instructions all the way through, and offering helpful advice, those sorts of things, rather than delegating a task and then getting out of the way and letting your people get on with it. It's about delegating a task and then doing it yourself. No, it's about doing all of those things that it shows that you don't trust your people. So, if you do that, you will very quickly demotivate your people. They will think that you don't trust them, and that, if they give if they if you give them a task, you're just going to do it yourself anyway. So why would they bother to put any effort into it? So no,
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't micromanage your people. Trust them. Trust them. Delegate tasks to them, and then get out of their way and let them do it. That's one of the first things. The second thing that new leaders often make mistakes in is that they don't understand that they must have a vision for their own team. They think that the organization has a vision and that's enough. Well, the organization's vision is important, but you got to have a vision for your own team of what they're going to do. What is their part in achieving the overall vision of the organization? Because when people come to work, they want to be able to see very personally, what is the vision? What am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I important? And so, the organization's vision is too big, it's too remote, it's too far away. It's great, they can buy into it and think, yes, great, fantastic, we'll go with that. But my part in it is what? Well, if the team has a vision, they can go, right, okay, this is what we're doing. This is why that's important to achieving that big objective. That's why I'm important to achieving that. So having a vision is incredibly important. It's equally important to communicate that vision to your people so that they understand what it is, so that they can buy into it. And you can never communicate that too much. You keep on telling them, you communicate your vision, and you keep doing it. And when they start quoting it back to you, then you know that you're getting somewhere. Then they've got it. you know, but you keep
Mm,
on. You keep on. This is why
right.
we're here. This is what we're doing. This is how what we're doing contributes to that. Keep it up. Keep telling them until
Yeah.
they start telling you. Then,
Right.
then
Yeah.
you're on the right
Ooh.
track. So that's that one. Now the other one, there's a fourth one, or third or fourth. I'm running out of fingers to count them, Daryl.
This for
The other
now.
one is that
Yeah.
often new managers are afraid, new leaders are afraid of having difficult conversations. That's to say, ignoring poor performance, or walking past people who are getting into conflict with each other, those sorts of things, when things are going a little bit difficult, things are getting a bit tense in the office, or someone's behaving badly. Then when you see that, you have to deal with it immediately. Not next week, not next month, now. So,
Right. Yeah.
being aware that it's your responsibility to make sure that you don't have those conflicts creeping into your team, because if you do, things get really unpleasant really quickly, and that affects the whole team, not necessarily just the people who are involved in that conflict. It affects everybody. So
Yeah.
your responsibility to deal with it. You pull those people aside and you have those difficult conversations with them. So again, that comes down to self-confidence, about having the ability to actually mediate, to have those conversations with those people and to say, look, that's not acceptable behavior. So, what are you going to do to change that? And actually come out, set expectations, get a get agreement as to what they're going to do to modify their behavior, and also make it clear what the consequence is going to be if they don't. So what you're doing there is to say, you know, there is acceptable behavior in this team, and I expect all of you to comply with that. Um, we're all in agreement that that's necessary. It's not just me being the autocrat. It's not just me dictating to you what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Everybody here is in agreement that that's how we want to treat each other in this workplace. So that's what we're going
Yeah.
to do. If you
Yeah.
choose not to do that, if you choose to behave in a different way and you don't want to change, well, you're going to be gone. You're going to be gone.
Yeah.
So, you've got to be able to have those difficult conversations and to enforce, what the rules are that you've all agreed on. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, I think, tend to, when a dispute happens in their team or a conflict arises in their team, they go straight to the HR department. They expect their human resources people to sort it out. That's not the way to do it. If you're the leader of the team, that conflict, that dispute, and resolving it is your responsibility, not HR. HR is a resource you can call on to support you, but it's your responsibility. So have the confidence to deal with it, to have those difficult conversations, and to bring it to a resolution.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that because I kind of, know a little bit the experience before with my friends, I think, or something like that. That because the high position on that department were kind of not really taking care of it, and then all of a sudden we had to go to the HR, and then all of a sudden the high position were angry with us because as a staff and stuff like that. So I think this is one of the things that leadership, as a leader in the leadership, have to um, not fear in the difficulty conversation, so that every conflict it's done together in that situation, not to wait until next week, next month, or things like that. This is um, an issue too, not only in the professional life, but also in the personal life, I must say. Right?
Definitely, it's a
Yeah.
skill we could all do with working on, but
Yep.
I think a lot of people are afraid of strong emotion in other people.
Yeah.
And so, we're talking about self-knowledge being important, self-awareness being important to a leader. It's also important to develop emotional intelligence. So you understand your own emotions, and then you can take that a step further to help you to understand the emotions of others, so that you don't get drawn in to an emotional situation. If someone is reacting emotionally to what's going on, you don't get drawn in and react emotionally yourself, because that isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to stay in equilibrium.
Right.
You've got to stay in control of your own emotions, so that you can help those people to stay in control themselves. So, that emotional intelligence is incredibly important. Not being
Yes.
afraid of strong emotion in other people. Sometimes, when you're having a conversation with somebody in a situation like that in the workplace, you get a strong emotional reaction from that person. You know that you're on to something really important. So, pay attention.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from it. Don't be afraid of it. Figure out what's behind it, because there is the problem that you need to deal with. So,
Indeed.
those emotional reactions from people who are not as emotionally intelligent as you are, those things can tell you, they can give you an indication that here is something really important that we must deal with. So, don't be afraid to have those conversations. Don't be afraid of people's reactions, because you are not going to react yourself. You're going to be responding to the situation rationally, because you're
Yeah.
emotionally intelligent. That's it. That's what it comes down to, developing your own emotional intelligence.
Mm, wow, this is so powerful, and how important is emotional intelligence too in this leadership area in life. Wow,
Mm.
so interesting in this discussion. And now, as a leader, I'm curious about how do you prioritize and balance the needs of your team members with the overarching goals and vision of the organization. As you've been working and having a workshop in the company, how do you prioritize and balance the needs?
Okay. Well, to you as a leader, your people are the most important aspect of what you do. So your
Okay.
role is to motivate them, to encourage them, to support them, to keep them informed as to what's going on, to protect them. And part of that protection is making sure that they're not being pulled around by everyone else's priorities within the organization. So what you're going to do is you're going to, first of all, when the organization is setting its priorities, you make sure that you're part of that discussion so that you know that the priorities that are being set are priorities that you can support, that your team can support, and that you can actually achieve. Really important. A lot of people seem to think that their role is just the department that they work in. It's
Mm,
not. If you're a manager of a department, then you are responsible for the management of the organization as a whole, and you have a responsibility to fully participate in that because your people are going to depend on you to support them and to represent their interests. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that once you've accepted that within the organizational structure, then you come to your team and you say, okay, team, here are the things that we are being asked to do in this next quarter, in this next half year, in this next 12 months. These are the priorities that the organization has. So, team, how are we going to achieve those things? And you use the team to decide how the team is going to approach that. So, what I'm saying is, you have a democratic decision making process within your team. You let everybody have their opinion. You let them all speak about what they think needs to happen, how it needs to be done within the team. Everyone has an opinion on that, and everyone's opinion is valid and needs to be treated with respect. Somebody might have a question, they may not understand something. So you give them the opportunity to ask those questions. So you do that without making them feel stupid because they didn't know.
yeah.
They why would they know? They got to have the opportunity to ask those questions. The other thing that's really important is that they have the opportunity to challenge things that they don't agree with or that they think might be a mistake or that they don't understand. Again, treat them with respect and let them challenge you, because your people are smart. You have gone out of your way to employ smart people on your team. None of us is as smart as all of us. And your
Yeah.
people asking questions, they ask important questions because they may have spotted something that you missed.
Mm,
So trust your people. Let them speak. Let them express their opinions. If they're frustrated with something, if they disagree with something that has to be done anyway, let them talk about that. Let that frustration come out. Listen to them. You may still have to do it. You may have to do things that they don't necessarily feel good about or agree with, but at least if you listen to them and they felt heard, firstly, they know that you care, and
yeah.
secondly, they understand that you're going to support them through all of that, even if they're not particularly in agreement with it. But you then have the opportunity to show them, okay, well, you may not understand it right now and you may not agree with it right now, but it does help us to achieve our vision. And you remember how excited we are about that. Here's our vision, and here's the vision of the organization. Here's how it all fits together, and here's how this particular thing fits in with that. So you can actually get people to, over time, think about it, come round to a different point of view on it. But they may have
Mm,
discovered something that actually is a mistake. And in that case, you can then take that on and go back to the other layers of the organization and explain why. This is a mistake. If we do this, we're going to be sorry later, and here's why. So, your people are experts in their own particular field. So you would do
yeah.
well to listen to them and let them have their opinions and listen to them. Let them ask their questions, listen to them, treat them with respect. That's really important.
Yeah. Again, treat them with respect. Um, Democratic decision making. trust the people, your people to hear. All right. Hmm. And which is there's a lot of things in the leadership that as a person we need to be aware of, and something that as a person we must learn how to manage the people and how to connect, especially and respect with people too.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. There's
Mm,
there's some priorities that you got to think about as a leader. No, your role, you're not there to do the work. You're there to lead the people who do the work. So remember that. Don't do it yourself. You've got a team of people who are there to do that. You're there to lead them. So you focus on that. Trust them to get it done. If
mm,
there's someone on your team that you don't trust, you've got to work on that.
mm,
If you don't trust them or they don't trust you, you got to work on that and build that trust with that person. Because if you cannot build trust with them, they have to go. They've got to go. They do or you do. One of you has got to get out of here, because if you don't trust someone on your team or they don't trust you, the whole thing is going to fail. It's not going to work. It will be quite an unpleasant situation. So fix it.
yeah.
Don't be shy about getting rid of someone off your team if they really don't fit. So that's the first thing. The other thing I would say is that, trusting your people is incredibly important. Trust them, delegate to them, and get out of their way. Let them get on with it. Don't micromanage them. That's
Mm,
that's good. Then don't forget to look after yourself. Now, your own physical and mental health are incredibly important, because leadership can be a stressful role. So you've got to have some way to let go of that stress, to
yeah.
let it go. Don't let the pressure build. Look after yourself and remember that you are setting an example to your people. They will look at you and how you live your life, both at work and outside of life, outside of the work life, and they will be looking at that as being what you're expecting of them. So if you
Mm,
work all the hours there are and you accept all the pressure that's being heaped on you, you're heading for burnout, and you're
yeah.
teaching your people to head for burnout as well. So don't do that.
Yes. I've known so many people in the top position that got burned out and blaming the work. I'm not gonna work. I'm not gonna whatever it is. But the thing is, I just okay. If I don't think about the money, I'm not gonna stay in this work. I got burned out, and because in that position, because this person are in the high position, they don't even want to get out from their comfort zone to ask for help. This is so sad for me. I can tell, Bernard.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. You touched on a
mm,
really important point there, Uni, that if you are in that role purely for the money, you're
mm,
making a mistake. You are making a big mistake, because life is about more than money. Life is about fulfillment. It's about having a fulfilling career that makes you feel that you're achieving something important in life. And making lots of money is all about material stuff. That's not going to be fulfilling. I mean, it might bring you a few things that you like. I mean, sure enough, you can buy that bigger car, you can buy that nicer house, you can have the overseas holidays and all of those sorts of things. But that's not really going to bring you fulfillment. What that's going to do is distract you from achieving fulfillment in your life.
yeah, yeah,
So it comes right back to where we started. Know yourself and understand what you want to be and to do and to have in your life, and go for that. And if that brings you money, if you get a well-paid job as part of that, part of your journey towards fulfillment in life, fantastic.
yeah,
But don't make the money the central reason for you being there. Because the chances are, if you're just after the money, if that's all that motivates you, you won't be happy in your job. You won't be happy in your work. You'll feel pressured. You feel stressed. And that's not
yeah,
a pleasant place to be. And like I said, that then rubs off on your people. They see that. They see that you're not happy, that you are stressed. and they feel unhappy and they feel stressed, and the workplace, rapidly goes down, and it's not a nice place to be. So
Yeah.
think about that. Think about
Mhm.
that. It's important.
Yeah, yeah. I can totally relate with that because I have some people who's really, and then it's no, I'm pride. I'm a top position of the CEO. How do I need the kind of help from this? But you actually need help, right? And oh, this is interesting. Um, Bernard, what advice do you have for aspiring leaders who may be facing challenges or setback in their life or in the position? Because I think this is important. You know, what advice that you would like to give to all the people who's watching this video?
Yeah, it's important, first of all, to know yourself. So understand who you are and what you want in your life. What do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? Seriously. And that's not just in the workplace, that's in your life. And work is just a part of that. Your work, what you do for a job, that's just a part of that journey that you're on. So you answer that question, what do you want? And then ask yourself, well, am I in the right place here? Am I doing the right thing to actually bring me to that point where I start to feel fulfilled in my life? Is it getting me to where I want to be, to where I need to be in my life to feel that sense of fulfillment? If the answer is no, then plainly some changes have got to be made. You know, are you in the wrong job? Have you chosen the wrong career altogether? Should you change direction? All those questions need to be answered, and they need to be answered very seriously. And that takes some deep thought, and it takes some deep reflection. And often it means taking time out from the busyness of life to give you the space to be able to focus on that. And that's where a coach or a mentor can be really helpful to actually help you to focus on those things and to answer those questions honestly. And then to help you to figure out what steps you need to take. Now, we've talked about people being stressed and burned out at work and feeling like, this is all too hard. Focus on the reasons. Why do you feel that way? Um, it might turn out that you're feeling like that because you've got some misunderstandings about life and about why you're there and why you're doing what you're doing. Some people find that once they understand their own purpose in life and they look at where they are in their life and what they're doing right now, somehow, miraculously, they've actually got themselves in the right place. They're in the right place doing the right thing. They just didn't understand that. And once you understand that, your whole mindset changes and you start to think about, I'm at work now doing what I'm doing because I choose to be, because this fits with me and who I want to be. And suddenly all of that pressure disappears. It isn't about I'm here because I have to be. I'm here because I have this mortgage to pay and I have all these loans to pay, all that stuff. That all goes away. I'm here because I want to be here, because this is me. This fits with my purpose in life. It's taking me every day I'm going to work and I'm doing these things, and everything I do is taking me a step further to becoming the person that I want to be in my life. Fantastic. So on the outside, nothing changes. But on the inside, that mindset changes, and that makes a huge difference then. So the stress goes away, the symptoms of burnout start to subside, and confidence starts to return. That makes all the difference.
Wow, this is so beautiful advice for all of the audience who's watching this video because it's so actually hard to tell them to reach out to the professional.
Mm.
And as human, we need help, and it's okay to ask for help, right, Bernard?
Right.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, when I'm mentoring somebody, they come to me with problems and they come to me with questions, but they also come to me with solutions and with answers. So I don't give them the solutions, I don't give them the answers. I might ask them a few questions and we'll have a few conversations. What I help them to do is to discover the solutions and the answers that they've had all the time. It was already there inside them somewhere. They just didn't know how to find it. So a conversation can help them to uncover that and to understand what's important. You see, as a coach or a mentor, I'm not an expert in your life. You're the expert in your life, but my job is to help you to uncover that and to see the wisdom that you already have, to find the solutions that you've already got, and the answers that you bring with you. So that's my role, and that's what I do. So you know, I think that's where a coach or a mentor can be really helpful. Um, a coach or a mentor will stop you and make you think, and make you think deeply about your life. And that's not something that we find easy to do, particularly when we're in the middle of a very stressful and a very busy work life and a
Yeah.
family life that's going on around it all, and all
Yeah.
of those other things, all of the other pressures of life. But
Mm.
say a 90-minute conversation with a mentor, it makes you say, okay, we got 90 minutes, stop, let go of all that stuff, and let's just have a little talk about your life and where you're up to right now. Let's not have any interruptions from all of that busyness out there. Let's just let that be for a moment, and let's think now. Let's focus on these things. And then it's interesting what comes up. Um, that's what helps
Right.
you to make the right decisions about the next steps, the things that you need to do, the changes that you need to make. If you need to make any, and most people do, even if it's a change to their mindset rather than a change to some aspect of what they're actually doing day by day.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm.
Wow. So don't be scared to reach out to people to have a conversation, and it, it's gonna help for sure, right, Bernard?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But there's another crucial piece of advice I would give to people
Mm.
in who are in leadership roles like right now, who've been in that role for a while at whatever level. It comes back to knowing yourself and knowing where you're headed and what's important to you in your career. And that would be, I would say, know when it's time to quit and quit when it's time. And that's a real challenge because, we get comfortable in a role and we get to the point where we're so competent in it and we're so familiar with it that we could almost do it in our sleep. And when we get to that point, we're not learning anymore. We're not growing anymore. We're not progressing anymore. We're stagnating. When you get to that point, it's time to change. It's time to move on. And the organization may offer you opportunities to move onwards and upwards at that point, or it may not. But if you don't follow up on opportunities that are out there to move onwards and upwards, you're making a big mistake. You're making a mistake in your career and you're making a mistake in your personal life. So understand that, you can't be in a role forever. How long you stay in a role, well, that depends on a number of factors. But when you start to feel that you're not learning anything new, when you start to feel that it's all so easy, there are no challenges anymore, that's a good sign it's time to get out of there.
Mm.
Sometimes, too, and I've seen this myself, the upper levels of an organization's hierarchy, the CEO, the board of directors, if there's a change at that level, and that brings about a change in the organizational culture, a change in the values of the organization, and that clashes in some way with your values, then you better ask yourself some questions. You know, can I stay here in this organization with this new set of values that clash with my own? And quite likely the answer will be no. If this is how this organization is going to behave, I don't fit here any longer. Pay attention to that and get out of there, because if you don't, you're going to be miserable. And if you're miserable, you're not going to do your best work. And as we've said, if you don't do your best work, if you're miserable at work, your people will see that and they won't do their best work either. And they'll feel miserable at work. And pretty soon,
Yeah.
everyone's depressed and doesn't want to be there. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
you know,
Mm. Wow. Yeah. How important actually being in leadership and reach out when you burn out, having conversation, and of course, first of all, knowing who you are and self-awareness. And
yeah.
last thing, Bernard, can you share a personal anecdote or lesson learn from your own experience as a mentor and a leader that had significant impact in your life?
Well, that story I was just telling you about knowing when it's time
Ah,
to
okay.
quit and quit when it's time, that
Right.
comes directly from my own experience. Um, it, I,
Okay.
I officially retired from my last senior leadership role in 2018. And the reason for that was that the organization I was working for was doing great stuff. It was going really well, and it had a vision, and it had a leadership and an organizational culture that I really supported. And it was really, it really fit with my values, my personal values. But then in about 2016, we got a new CEO at the top, and his leadership style consisted of bullying and intimidation and public humiliation of anybody who disagreed with him. And
Mm,
that, all of that, completely clashed with my personal values because I'm all about supporting people. It's about being uh, recognizing the importance of everyone in the organization and about trusting them and about respecting them. And those values at the top were in complete opposition to me and to my values. Um, so uh, what happened after that guy was appointed is that um, he decided to restructure the organization completely. And that brought about considerable stress and considerable uncertainty in the workforce. And so, I looked at all that and I thought, I can't stay here. I can't work in this organization with that guy at the top and with that um, set of values and that organizational culture filtering down. But at the same time, I have a team of people reporting to me who are feeling the stress of organizational restructuring coming down and who need my support right now. So,
mm,
on one hand, I'm thinking, I need to get out of here. And on the other hand, I'm thinking, I need to be here to support these people who are looking to me for leadership and support and encouragement and protection and all the rest of it. So, what I did was, I said, right, the organizational restructure is going to take effect in 2018. It's now the beginning of 2017. I will stay here and I will support my people as far as I can through this lead up to the restructure. But the day that restructure happens, I'm out the door. I'm gone. And until then, I will put up with uh, the values of the leadership, but I will not endorse those values. I will stay true to myself and to who I am. And if that puts me in conflict with the boss, well, so be it. So that's what I
mm.
did. That's
Yeah.
what I did. I focused on my team and I focused on making sure that once the restructure came into place, every one of them had a role that they could step into in the new structure. So I said to them, here comes a restructure, here comes magnificent change. And I tell you what, if you accept change as an opportunity, then what you'll see is there are more opportunities than threats for you within the new restructure. If you see it as something that's bad and you see it as a threat, um, then you're right. You'll feel depressed, you'll feel like a victim, and that's not going to do you any good at all. So look for the opportunities that are coming within the restructure and make up your own minds about what you're going to do. And I will support you. I will support you in making sure that you go for a role that suits you within the new structure. Well, out of my team, I had two or three people who listened to me and who actually got active about looking for the opportunities and pursuing those opportunities. And they've done well. They're still there. Some of them, they're still there in that organization. They've moved onwards and upwards. They're in more senior roles now. But there were two who saw themselves as victims, and not much I could do to make them think that's not the case. Look for the
Yeah.
opportunities, go for it. They didn't listen.
Mm,
So, sure enough, they became victims. And
yeah.
neither of them is with that organization anymore today. So,
Mm,
sometimes you can have a win with people, sometimes you don't. But
yeah.
my role was to look after my people, and I did that to the best of my ability. But then, once all that was in place, I was out the door. I could not continue to work within that organization. Quite honestly, I'd done my time in that role anyway. I'd been there 7 years. And by then, the job I was doing had become second nature. It wasn't a challenge anymore. So I would have been looking to move onwards and upwards anyway. And uh, one of the opportunities that came about from that restructure was that I could have, and I think the expectation within the organization was that I would go for a more senior position, and if I'd done that, I probably would have got it. But that organizational culture, that clash of values with the leadership, meant that that wasn't an option for me.
Mm, right.
So,
Mm,
integrity, my integrity was important to me.
yeah.
So I quit. I walked away.
Mhm, yeah.
Mm.
Wow, this experience, it can be an inspiration for all of the people who's watching our video today, our show today, so that they can learn from the mistakes and learn from the experience that you have, so they can also applicate it in the real life for themselves and learn about leadership from you. And yeah, thank you very much for your share and your insight. I really learn a lot from this conversation again, Bernard, about leadership. As you know, because leadership is not as simple as it is. And I think personally, the leadership, in my case now, is learning more, not just focusing on the one thing, but we can be humble and lifelong journey in the leadership, I can tell. And
Oh,
yes, of
definitely, yes.
course, yeah.
Leadership is like anything else in life.
Mm,
Learning is a lifelong endeavor. Um, we need to be learning and growing all the time throughout our
yeah.
lives. But the corollary to that is that when you stop learning, you're dead, or you might as well be.
Yes. Hmm.
So yeah, keep learning every
Yeah.
day in
Yeah.
everything that you do. There's interesting things out there to learn about.
Mm,
Sometimes it's really useful stuff that helps you in your career. Sometimes
yeah.
it's just interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. But
Indeed.
every day, you learn, and you learn something new, and you grow, and and you put what you learn back in to the way you live your life. And so your
Right.
experience grows. That's about the getting of wisdom.
Oh, yeah. It's something that wisdom also, something that we cannot just I'm wisdom now, but it's not that easy, like Bernard. Ah,
Well,
gosh. Yeah.
I agree with the teachings of the Buddha in this regard. And he said that
Hmm.
there are three kinds of wisdom. And the first one of those is received wisdom, which is like people who are watching this video now and listening to what we're talking about. That's received wisdom. The second one is called intellectual wisdom, which is to say they've listened to what we said and they understood it and they think it's really good, and that's fantastic. But the third one, the one that makes the difference, is experiential wisdom, which is when they take that received wisdom and that intellectual wisdom and they put it into practice in their own life.
Yeah.
That's when you
Wow.
really get it. So,
Right.
experiential wisdom, that's what it's about. So, you listen to what we've been talking about, you learn from it, and then you put it into practice in your own life and in
Yes.
your own career. That's when you develop
Wow.
that wisdom for yourself.
Wow, this is amazing. Thank you very much. Oh, our closing is so wonderful. Thank you very much for your share and insight, Bernard. As I said, I learned a lot from this conversation. I hope we can see again soon or next time in the next show or event. And good luck for all of the things that you're working, and keep inspiring for all of us. And for all of you guys who's watching, thank you very much. And I'll put the link about the books that Bernard launched on Amazon. And I also put the link to reach out to Bernard. So again, thank you very much for this show. Um, it's been amazing conversation. I hope to see you again soon, Bernard. So thank you
Well,
very much, and
thank you
thanks
very
for
much,
watching.
Ian. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure to have this conversation. And if anybody watching would like to reach out to me, please do. I'm always happy to hear from people. If you have any questions and you'd like to ask me, then send me a message, and I'm always happy to engage in conversation. So thank you, Uni, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to have you in my show. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much for watching.